Welcome everybody. Welcome Ryan, Tim, back for another episode of Mostly Business. It
What's
feels
up?
like
What's
it's been a
up?
while.
It has been. It's been a couple
What's up,
weeks.
gentlemen?
I've mostly missed
Yes.
mostly business, honestly.
Well, we've been talking a lot, but we haven't had the logo Mostly Business while we're talking as an overlay on the videos. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we haven't done it because we've been busy.
yeah, we've been too busy for the show. But
Serving the-
well, we had when was the last time? I don't know if it was a few weeks ago or whatever, and we would have been back on last week, but we had the big webinar we were doing for the LinkedIn Accelerator program. And then so we just skipped the show last week because we had a conflict then. And then now here we are back today, get back on our normal cadence of roughly every other week, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see what we got for today. Everybody knows, well, while we were talking about the webinar we had last week, which was really great. We had for those who have not been following along at home, we had I think I talked about this in one of the Substack messages or something like that, but we had over 500 people sign up for that meeting. And we had, which was really interesting, we had over 200 attendees on that webinar last week, which for anybody who's done webinars, then you know that you never know how many people are going to show up to attend. But in this day and age, to get 40% of the people who signed up to show up is pretty dang solid. I mean, we've done plenty of webinars where we would have 500 people show up and we'd have less than 100 attendees. So that's, we would 20% attendance was usually what we used to figure on. And so it'll be interesting to see if there's anything we did that we can continue forward to keep getting great results like that. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, well, the interesting part, this is what I was going to say, is that when we did it with like Link Selling and Connect 365, we'd have webinars, and like our hope is usually like 30%, right? Like if we got 30%, we'd feel okay about it. We feel good about it. If there's 20, we'd always be like, we got work to do, but that's, it is what it is. Sometimes people are busy. But to get 40 with way less work, like way less reminders and show up. Like before, we would have like all kinds of text messages, all kinds of emails. All of the emails would have some sort of activity in them. To get people started and to get people fired up. And we just kind of sent basic reminders and everyone showed up, which is awesome. So if you were there and you're watching this, I appreciate you. But it was, I mean, my main takeaway is if we were going to come up with something is like, maybe we were over communicating before. And that's certainly possible.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. It was like the thing I did differently than what we might have done in the past was I called it a meeting instead of like masterclass or webinar or something like that. So that could have something to do with it. It could also be that I haven't done one of those in a long time. And so it was fresh. It's not like we've been hammering webinars for, the last few months, which then you would see that number decline.
I bet that played a big role. It's almost like, did your farewell tour like 2 years ago. You put the band back together and did your first show, and a lot of people were curious,
Right. There you go.
Well, I think the other thing we need to mention on that, not only the show up rate of 40%, and disclosure, I have 4 different clients I work with. I don't think in all my years I've ever seen, say, a number like 500 or more and have a 40% show up rate is incredible. But what's even more nuts to me, that if you registered for the webinar, just over 20% or right about 20% bought the course. And then if you get down to being on the webinar, 50% of the people bought it. I mean, that's just not normal. I mean,
it went really well. Yeah. And I think a big part, I mean, it's, I think it's kind of been a long time since I've done just a straight up LinkedIn, training program, if you will. I mean, years, and it's like the number one thing that I'm known for probably. And so like, it's a topic that I think just resonates with my community really well. And then also that we did instead of having it be a $2,000 program, like what people are expecting, which people do all the time. We all see the launches, it's, $2,000. A lot of times now it's 3,000 or, whatever. But we kind of flipped that on its head, and this was $279 for the single payment. And so I think that also had a big part to do in the conversions, is that it was really unexpected that the price was so low, and people saw it as really a great value, which they absolutely should, which is pretty cool. And so for us, like, we have a small company now, myself with Ryan and Tim helping on a very part-time basis. And so we can do things like that and have a $300 course that 100 people have signed up for works great for us.
Well, and like with only a couple people, like Tim and I helping part-time, like you're not trying to work yourself into the dirt either. Doing a $3,000 program would be a nightmare. Like anyone that's doing a $3,000 program and it's going to be worth it is going to have to have an enormous infrastructure and a bunch of tools and different things that you get with it. And I personally think as there's more and more courses going on all the time, more and more options, I think people are going to start skewing away from spending thousands of dollars on something because it's just, they're getting hammered with stuff all of the time. Like to fully understand the differentiation between this $3,000 program and this $2,500 program and this one that's $500 a month and whatever. It's gotta be tough.
It's yes and no, because there's a lot of our clients have services and programs that are thousands of dollars, and they should be. We don't want to recommend they turn them into $300 things, but like but there's a market there that you can do well at if it makes sense for your business model.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that for a while there, everyone was just slapping on a $2,000 price tag on something, whether or not it was worth it. If you're selling something for courses and programs. So now if you have something that, is worth it, and aside from just the outcome, it's like worth what they get. And there was, it's good. Cause we could have sold this program for much higher than, $279. And it would have been worth it, but we would have had to add all of these different things into it. That would, be a lot of work.
That would almost cause us to have full jobs, which we certainly don't want to do. but
I just wanted it to go well too, and that the higher the price goes up, there's this price. What do you call it? Elasticity or whatever. The customers become more sensitive and look at it much more closely. Think about the decision more. And so the higher you go, the less sales you have. There's a way to optimize it. If you can hit the sweet spot, you never know what that's going to be really though. And so for us in our situation to say let's make sure this really goes well. Let's do something that's going to be really affordable for everybody. And we were like, I think this will go well. We felt pretty good about it, and it went really well.
I'm just excited that they get to teach something in it. Because for the longest time, I always kind of wanted to do that, but it was with everything else I had going on, it was just why add the extra stress? We have other people to do it. Yeah. And now I have actually time to put together something awesome.
Yeah.
And I actually get to teach.
Right.
And
it's cool.
One more cool thing to add on besides Ryan, you teaching, I think that it's going to seem very tangible to people. In other words, you're going to learn this in a month and you're off and running. So it's not like this crazy commitment, a 6-month or a year-long plan. Right. It's just we're going to get down and dirty for 5 weeks and you're going to be off and running, getting 100 to 150 prospects for your business in an automated system in 5 weeks. You can't.
Yeah, it's really cool. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I want to join that. Well, the program has closed to the public at this point. The deadline to join was last night. And so we're really excited to work with everyone who's joined. If any of you are on right now, appreciate you jumping in, and it's going to be cool. Yeah. And to Ryan, to your point, you got a lot of really cool stuff you're doing with content marketing on LinkedIn right now. So it's going to be, people are going to really be into that for sure, which adds a new layer to all this stuff. I didn't even, my book doesn't even have any of that in it, so we're using some of the time tested principles for using LinkedIn for connecting, prospecting, messaging, generating leads, but layering on this whole new content marketing thing that didn't exist before. That is really pretty cool.
Yeah, because now it's more important in the way. I guess more and more people are posting content on LinkedIn, and there's gonna be there's some really cool ways to get a lot of visibility. But also, since I wanted to hype up one other quick thing before we move on to anything else, because you mentioned that the course is closed, which it is. So sorry if you wanted to join it. Awesome if you did. But we are going to be doing other cool stuff in the future. And next week, we're going to be sending out a survey of topics of things people are interested in, not just for courses, but for just content in general. Mm-hmm. So if you want our opinion or advice or us to talk about certain things, make sure you join the newsletter. I'm going to put this up in a screen. It's not the most pretty link to join, but it's just jtblueprint.substack.com. Join that and read your emails on Monday and Tuesday, and and let us know your thoughts and be honest, because we know a lot about a lot of things, but we don't know what you really want to know about. So let us know.
Word to your mother.
Word to your mother.
Cool. So have you guys? This is totally unbusiness related, but have you guys watched the new show on Netflix, Tires? Shane Gillis show.
Tires?
Yes, I have. I love Shane Gillis.
Yeah, he's the best. How you like the show?
I would say I liked it a lot, but I didn't love it as much as I hoped. Yeah. So I thought it was really good though. I just like Shane, and I like the whoever plays the his manager friend.
Yeah,
he's in some of his skits, and he's hilarious in all of them. And so I was happy to see him in there.
I think that if you put it through, for me, Tim, you haven't seen it, right?
No, and it's called, I just wrote it down. It's called Tires Like a Car Tire.
Yes. Yeah, they run a tire shop.
You'll enjoy it. Enjoy it. Yeah, they run a tire shop, and it's kind of raunchy humor, but I think it's good. And the reason it's good is because of the way they shoot it, and it's like sketch comedy, but in a series kind of format. But it's like shot in the way that Arrested Development was.
Yes.
Right. So to me, if you think about it in that genre, it's really good for what it is, I think.
It's like The Office, but without talking to the camera. In terms of the way they film The Office too, which I think is similar enough to.
And that was groundbreaking at the time, I thought. They were one of the first shows, if I remember, to get rid of the laugh track and all that stuff.
Just feels like a camera crew is there, but it's fun.
The Office is great. Yeah. I love it. And the important thing that is that there's no laugh track, you know, which is so old school that it rarely works. You can watch Seinfeld has a laugh track, and that I don't have a problem with it because it's such a great show that I don't even think about that. But so many comedies that have a laugh track, they're it's not actually that funny, and quit having these people in the crowd laugh constantly,
Yeah.
There's
a ton of shows like that. But there are some that are funny, but I don't know. Most shows with a laugh track I'm not into. And then have you noticed that Netflix has gone back to that lately? There's a bunch of I don't know, early 2000s-esque sitcoms with the same people that were in them before, but now they have their own. It'll be George Lopez style people, which no shade on George Lopez, he's fine, but it's that kind of thing. And
people like those kinds of shows, and if they're good, they're good, But then you get one Two Broke Girls or something, and it's this is not. There's some bad ones.
Ryan's our tech guy. Maybe we could add a laugh track to this. We say something funny and you hit the button.
I'll do that. But
we might need that actually. Yeah.
As we know, I've had tons of tech issues with this computer and streaming. So when I get my new one, which I told them right before this, everyone, I'm getting a new computer, so this will be smoother and we won't have as many issues. Then I'll do a laugh track. I'll just have to do it after everything I say, just so everyone does, just so everyone thinks I'm the shit. Nothing after what you guys say.
Perfect.
Could be a new genre of podcasts with laugh tracks,
Everyone would hate that so much. It's everything is. It's did you see that? But blah.
I think we mistimed it. We're talking about our launch and then just have a laugh track in the middle of it.
Yeah,
Right.
like, oh, sorry guys. Like, there's like those radio shows that just do like drops, like audio drops in them all the time. I'll just do that. I don't know where I'll just
Let
be
me
like,
ask you a question,
"Bazoing."
Ryan.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of Shane Gillis and just, stand-up comedy, are you still a big fan of Tom Segura, or have you is he not as big on your list anymore?
He's fallen off for me a little. I think he's funny. I think his vibe is off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to
He's
explain
fallen
it.
off.
And same with Bert Kreischer. Like, I like Bert Kreischer when I used to go like get drunk all the time, but now I'm not, now that I'm like, I don't know, sipping
I
wine,
kind of gave
having
up on
steak.
those guys. Tim, how do you feel about those two?
I think they're all right. I have no issues either way. I'm kind of in the middle.
Well, have you seen Tom Segura, the way he acts on like, he's got this like life coaching mentality now. You can tell he like hangs out with really inspirational people where he'll be like, if you're not as rich as me, it's your fucking fault. You're a loser.
Oh, is that? I like, says that pretty much.
Shit, no, you like tons. Well, he's like very elitist vibe, and like.
Oh, yeah, I haven't. Okay, so then based on that.
Well, but he's doing that as a joke of like leaning into. I've got money now, so I'm gonna like, he calls them the pores.
Yeah, that he does do it to an extent, but I feel like it's like a nugget of what he believes. Yeah,
sometimes it's funny, but like. Their whole shtick has just really gotten tired, and I'm like, you guys are something is not good anymore here. And Bert is just not funny. Bert's not funny. Where's the joke?
His last stand-up was terrible, dude. Like his last stand-up was horrible. I couldn't even watch it.
Yeah, no, and people are like acting like that Machine story is some great thing. I'm like, it's not really funny. What's going on?
I thought it was funny the first time I heard it. It's like, but it's very. Like Dane Cook funny, where it's just an outrageous thing, but I used to love
an outrageous story.
Yeah. But like Tom Segura, I felt like he was like the original, not the original. He's far too long in comedy to be the original anything. But he was like what Shane Gillis is now. Before he like had really funny, witty, like relatable jokes that like were spoken in a way that like you and your friends. Yeah. It's not overly articulated. It's not like like I don't think it's a character. It's just like, no, this is me, and I'm going to say things that a lot of people say to their friends, but don't say on stage. And I thought it was funny. And so I still think Tom Segura's stand-up is funny, but like I don't really listen to any comedy podcasts at the moment, but I would say I probably wouldn't listen to that one. But I love Shane Gillis a lot. And Matt, I can't think of his name, his like friend who does the podcast with, I just see clip. Yeah, he's funny too. And I like that they're normal, and I like that they're not overly like political one way or the other. They like make fun of, like they don't, it's not like super liberal or super conservative, and they have like strong opinions on things. They just kind of like make fun of people make fun of, and then
we know who they're voting for though. Let's be honest.
We know who they're voting for, but potentially, but like, it's just really, they do talk about politics, but it's like in a way that I view things where it's like very casual. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to hear any.
They're funny as shit. Yeah, I agree. And let's hope they just continue keeping it real, because we need these salt of the earth gentlemen, to bring jokes into our life.
I wonder how much money Shane Gillis makes, because he was supposed to be in a movie with Quentin Tarantino and it got canceled.
Dude, fucking shitload of money. Are you kidding me? His stand-up special, Beautiful Dogs, from last year was massive. They bought this Tires show, which originally Tires was a show he made himself that was on YouTube. And so like that thing is he's Bud Light sponsors him, and like he's selling out arenas, dude. He's killing it. He was
the perfect person for Bud Light to sponsor as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that was such a good move.
It was
yeah, that like ended it.
And everyone's like, well, if he likes it. And then somehow Kid Rock was cool with it too. Kid Rock all of a sudden was like, all right, I'll drink Bud Light now. I don't know what they did with
Shane really turned the tide on that one.
Yeah. Okay, Tim, do you know Shane Gillis at all? Like, do you know much of it?
I know the name, but I don't know much about him at all.
I'll watch his stand-up, Beautiful Dogs. That's funnier than Tires, the show.
And is that a Netflix, Beautiful Dogs?
Netflix. Yeah. And he's got a YouTube channel. It's called Gillian Keeves. So it's like I'll just send you the link after this, but they have a bunch of skits. It's like sketch comedy, and it's the funniest shit. Funny, yeah. No, the one about the high school football coach, and like slowly being cool with integrating, Black players onto his team as they win more. I thought that was hilarious. And then there's a guy whose last name is Isis. He runs a car dealership called Isis Toyota. That shit's funny. Yeah. Watch them all, man. Like I love them so much. I think he's like those are the funniest things he's done. There's also like a uncle daycare where they have all the uncles come to a daycare every day to watch them instead of kids because of COVID at the time. And then
that sounds fun. Well, all right. I'm also, by the way, when you said ISIS, I actually met some guy in our neighborhood.
Where's this going?
What? No.
Where's this going?
I was like, I was petting his dog. He's like, oh, this is ISIS. I'm like, really? I didn't know what to say. I was like, okay.
What?
Don't
trust that guy.
Hi, I don't hang out. I'm like, hi, ISIS. Please don't.
This is what Cat Bin Laden.
Yeah, that's great. Well, so let's make a little transition. Speaking of The Office and whatnot, let's fire up this video that I came across, and this is with the
60 direct reports.
60 CEO of NVIDIA, which NVIDIA is like the hottest company around now. Their stock price is like blown through the roof over the last couple of years. They're, I don't even. They're split. I think. They're doing something in the AI space. I don't know if they're a software company. I don't really know exactly what they're building. I don't know if they're building a robot that's going to take over the world, probably. But they're very popular these days. And this is their CEO talking about how he doesn't do one-on-ones. Let's play this if we can, Ryan.
I'm going to turn my camera up just to save my computer from needing it.
NVIDIA's leadership team is 60 people.
60 direct reports.
60 direct reports, yeah.
Which is not conventionally considered a best practice.
I'm certain that's the best practice. It's not conventional, but I am certain it's the best practice. The reason is because the layer of hierarchy in your company really matters. I don't do one-on-ones, and almost everything that I say to everybody all at the same time. And the reason for that is because I don't really believe there's any information that I operate on that somehow only one or two people should hear about. These are the challenges of the company, or this is the problem I'm trying to solve, or this is the direction we're trying to go into. This isn't working, that's working well. All of this type of information, everybody should be able to hear. I love that everybody's working off of the same song sheet. I love that there is no privileged access to information. I love that we're able to all contribute to solving a problem. And when you have 60 people in a room, everybody heard the reasoning of the problem. Everybody heard the reasoning of the solution. Everybody heard everything. I believe that when you give everybody equal access to information, it empowers people. And so that's number one, empowering. Number two, if the CEO's direct staff is 60 people, the number of layers you've removed in a company is probably something like 7.
And so I rarely find myself having to stand up for conventional wisdom, but if I was to kind of steel man the other side, I'd say, well, one-on-ones are where you provide coaching, where you maybe talk through goals together, personal goals, career advancement, what have you, where maybe you give feedback on something that you see somebody systematically not doing so well and so forth. So anyway, there's all these things that kind of one is, again, conventionally supposed to do in the one-on-one. Do you not do those things, or do you do them in a different way?
Really good question. I do it right there. I do it right there. I give you feedback right there in front of everybody. In fact, this is really a big deal. First of all, feedback is learning. For what reason are you the only person who should learn this? Now, you created the conditions because of some mistake that you made or silliness that you brought upon yourself. We should all learn from that opportunity. So for me to explain to you why that doesn't make sense or how I differ from it, half the time I'm not right. But for me to reason through it in front of everybody helps everybody learn how to reason through it. And so the problem I have with one-on-ones and taking feedback aside is you deprive a whole bunch of people that same learning. Learning from mistakes, other people's mistakes, is the best way to learn. Why learn from your own mistakes? Why learn from your own embarrassment? You gotta learn from other people's.
That's pretty much the gist of it. I really thought it was interesting because I love the idea of just not doing one-on-ones because, I don't like doing it either.
So many ideas.
Well, here's my question about it. here's my question is, so if he's got 60 direct reports, how do you like properly, how long are these meetings? You know what I mean? Like these group meetings, like if you're like, if someone, you know, one of the 60 is like, needs coaching, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to walk you through kind of what, you know, like that. I think mostly what he said, you know, it's like, well, there's 60 of them. And so I'm assuming he still takes a bunch of meetings with their small groups. You know, like he's not meeting with all 60 at once. He's not meeting with all 60 individually. He's probably meeting in like chunks.
He's saying he's meeting with all 60 at once.
He
That's
said
what
that
he's
exactly.
saying, but you know, who knows?
It could just also
exactly
be like,
how-
I'm not going to give you advice, and like I'm not going to solve your problems to fix it for you. I'm just going to tell you when you need to do better.
Yeah.
Which is like
that could
one
be
part I like it.
You know, those people that he has on his staff, those 60 people are going to be very highly paid people in that organization. And so, you know, part of it could be like, I expect you to know how to do your job even better than me. Cause I'm, you know, if you're the CEO, his VP of sales should be better at being the VP of sales than the CEO is. Right. Yeah. So like, how much support do you need? You know? And you know, now would that work if you're a manager that is hiring entry-level staff that need to be trained up? Probably not. You're probably going to have to work with those people to get them up to speed. But when your 60 reports are like each making $500,000 a year or whatever, and are like supposed to be really baller, then they should be able to get their job done without one-on-one hand-holding.
Well, I think you can also build a support system within that group of 60. So if for example, like nobody's going to go in a 60-person meeting and talk about how they want to raise or a career advancement. Like it's just weird. It would be uncomfortable, I think. But if you have one of those 60 people as someone that handles career advancement and HR type role in a company as big as Stripe, because that guy's the founder of Stripe, like that's what he's talking about. You'd have something like that. Then that person would be the one to talk to directly about that. So I think there's probably
that guy's the founder of Stripe.
That's what I thought it said in the thing.
I thought it was NVIDIA.
Oh, it was. Well, hold on.
Am I tripping?
No, you're right. It did say NVIDIA.
NVIDIA CEO.
What am I thinking?
Yeah, I don't know.
I read when you sent us that post this morning. We're like, never mind. I don't know. Yeah, NVIDIA. Then yeah, I mean he's not. Anyways, plus you're right though. No CEO is going to be able to go in to tell like so NVIDIA they'll have like a chief technology officer or someone in charge of like production of all their microchips because that's what they do. The CEO is not going to know more about that at all. And if the CEO thinks he knows more about that, then they're wrong. Like you know, like it'd be crazy. Like why would you like? It's just like it'd be like Elon Musk saying he knows more than everyone else in his companies. You know, I'm not like necessarily a huge Elon fan or detractor, but like if he was going in at every meeting being like, "Oh, you need to do exactly this," I think you're not a rocket scientist, you know. So like your rocket scientists need to make rockets. You know, your job is just to do big picture strategy.
I thought one of the cool things he did in there, it kind of reminds, and you'll notice this when you guys do the classes with me coming up. I'll often say when I'm answering somebody's question, especially if it's a Zoom room of like, 100 people or whatever, I'll be like, so Ryan's asking this question, but I want everybody to pay attention. This affects what everybody does. And it sounds like he uses that technique when he's talking to people, when they're asking questions like, hey, many of you may have this question as well. And I really like that. It kind of brings people back in. So I thought that part was really cool.
I'd be interested to know what kind of
people aren't going to bring bullshit to the table. Nobody's going to come to that meeting and say some chump shit. You know, they're going to make sure that any issues they want to bring up are going to be like, on point.
And I also took it too, which I love this philosophy is that whether you have a very high up job title or you're working in the mailroom, we're all equal kind of thing. That's the way I took that we're all, on the same level playing field and we should all, treat each other the same. And I thought that was really cool. So
eliminating 7 layers, he said, if the CEO has 60 direct reports, you will eliminate 7 layers. And that's really interesting.
Yeah. Even if I think 60 is extreme, Like, I think he's probably an extreme example, but I do agree with limiting some of that. I don't know a single person that works in like a very corporate company, like big company, that doesn't just complain about the layers and the amount of people. And like, there's just a lot of people whose job is their job management. They don't do anything themselves. Management now that's something they do a lot, but like they're managing people, and if like they can really cause issues if they're like, taking people's ideas. I've heard people say like the managers take their staff's ideas and present them as their own. Are just like if anybody gets credit on their team and they don't get like the first pat on the back, they get bitter. That kind of stuff. And plus, I think it's good to structure your business in a specific way where you don't have to have all of these people, because otherwise you're like slowly your margins are going to start shrinking and shrinking and shrinking.
Yeah.
I thought it was So I guess we'll just
and
we're
one other
doing
quick
it the
thing.
right way in our business, because we don't have one-on-ones. We have a group meeting, so we're doing it.
Yeah, and we just
the right way, I guess.
And we just destroy Josh in all of those meetings. Like that's what we do. Give him the feedback right there for him. I agree though. Someone who managed somebody.
If you want to go to the doctor, I say you guys submit your permission slips for time off. All those things. And I chastise you in front of each other.
I'm with him. I'm with him on like not loving one-on-ones in terms of like, for a lot of the reasons people do to talk about career advancement. That stuff just I like to talk about like their role at the company. I don't love. I do like one-on-ones for brainstorming ideas if it's valuable to have multiple people. Like, if I want feedback on my thing and they want feedback on their thing, I do value that. But I agree that a lot of the stuff that goes on in one-on-ones is just, not a great use of time. And if you're paying someone a lot of money just to have those conversations as their main job, that's just a waste of money.
Yep. Well said. Well, thought everybody would enjoy that one. It's a good one. Let's do Ryan. I'm going to let Tim give us a little bit of a new music spotlight here for a second. I know you had submitted a few things that we could potentially talk about today. I'm going to ask you to pick one of them that you think is the hottest and most fresh, and then we'll do that after Tim gives us a little bit of information about this new song by a band called The Cold Stairs. For anyone who hasn't watched the show before, we talk about some business stuff, and then we talk about other things like music and wine. So what's up with this band, Tim? I don't think I'm familiar.
Yeah, so not many people are. This band, they have 4 records out, and this is the first single off their new record, which is coming out, I think, September. Kind of irrelevant right now. It's either August or September. But it's called Horse to Water. They're just a 2-piece band, almost like the Black Keys, something like that. And it's just 2 guys from Indiana, and it is kind of blues-based rock. But I got to tell you, I played this song. I had about 5 or 6 people over the other night, drinking some wine out back. I know that shocks you all. And I put on this song. I said, I want to play this for you. And everybody reacted, granted 5, 6 people, very positively. I play it, Ryan. Obviously, I want everybody to hear it and at least get to the first chorus, if you would, my friend. I think it's a great song.
Just tell me when to stop, and I will get it started here.
I'll give you the thumbs up when we're done. Thank you, buddy.
Reminds me of the new Chris Stapleton music a little bit.
I can hear Chris Stapleton. I can hear a little bit musically, a little bit Gaslight Anthem, maybe meets Chris Stapleton. Just straight ahead, dirty rock and roll. And maybe it sounds like something from a while ago, but I love it. But they started, I think it was like 2017. So they're a pretty new band still. Indiana rock and roll on the Mostly Business show.
So Indiana, they're from Indiana.
They're from Indiana, of all places. Yeah, I can't think. The only guy I can.
There's a lot of bands coming out of that Indiana, Kentucky area, like Cage the Elephant and White Reaper. They're from that area.
Oh, Cage the Elephant is from that area. I think they're a great band.
I saw Cage the Elephant at Bonnaroo when I was in college, in a tiny stage, and like the whole time I was like, this guy is insane. Like he was climbing up and like he was doing stuff you'd see like. In those like big shows, he'd be on like MTV back in like the early 2000s. It'd be like someone like hanging upside down on the rafters of this thing. He was like doing that, but on a small stage. It was outrageous, wearing like a jumpsuit, wearing like a hazmat suit. And but it was awesome.
Nice, man. Yeah, they're a cool band too. Yeah, well, that's a good one, Tim. That's a good one.
Cool. I'm glad you liked it. And apparently the dog likes it too, which I'm really happy about that.
It must be Ryan's, yeah.
Yeah, he's it's my dog. It's getting there, but hopefully he goes upstairs soon. I did want to ask you a question, then I'll hang up because I don't want him to bark. But Tim, what do you? I've read some stuff lately about people, since you're from the industry a little bit, canceling concerts. I'm turning it this way so he doesn't.
Yeah,
Black Keys.
Yeah, the Black Keys are awesome too. And so if
311 as well, another major band. I mean, 311, they can do arenas. I mean, they're a good size as far as their clientele. I think it's the price of touring has gone through the roof. I know certain bands that are big enough to do that, and my favorite band does it is Pearl Jam, but other bands are doing it too, is literally playing cities for multiple nights helps save costs, if you're playing there 2 nights. But ticket prices are just so out of control that people aren't paying them. I mean, it's really a monopoly. It's a monopoly on tickets, I mean, it's just nuts out there. I mean, if you want to go see, the Stones are on tour right now. You want a decent seat to the Stones? It's probably $750 for a decent seat. So you can't, the days. I was even looking at, just for example, Weezer and Dinosaur Jr., 2 bands I enjoy, and I've seen neither band before. They're playing the Golden One Center here in Sac, which is where the Kings play. It's our big arena. They're actually doing it right, and they were selling pretty well. I just have to look it up. A good seat there was like $115, much more reasonable, and they're able to sell those tickets. So I think it's a lot of this price gouging, and it's a little bit scary. And the other part of the whole music thing is, because most people listen the way you just did now, Ryan. They go to YouTube, they go to Spotify, they go to Apple Music, where the artist gets 0.0001 cent of every time you spin it. So it's just such a strange business now that touring's getting hard. I mean, I'll give you an example, and then I'll stop. But years when I was in the industry, say a new Eminem record came out, which we put out, or a new U2 record, we would sell 1 to 1.5 million first week on artists like that. It'd be the #1 album in the country. Now the #1 album may sell as little as 40,000 physical copies. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I saw that. There was like a rapper that I don't listen to, but he came out with an album, and I saw somebody on Twitter talking about it. He was like in the top 5, and he had like 40,000 his first week. Which is just wild. And it's like, if you're not Taylor Swift, but even then, it's like I don't even know why people are buying them. Like I've had Spotify Premium for.
I can tell you why I'll tell you why I still buy the physical copies for myself personally. I even noticed that listening to the Cold Stares. I was like, listening to things to me through a computer, or even I have a nice Bluetooth speaker, but in my music room, I have, I say this humbly, just really, really crazy speakers. And that's, if I love a band, I got to be in that room listening to it. I got a whole ritual when my bands come out with music, as Josh knows. So if you care about sound, then you still want the physical copies, in my opinion. I just don't think something coming out of a digital file through the speakers is the same.
So do you know?
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Do you know if somebody, so like I know a lot of one thing I think is cool is that a lot of like newer artists, and they've been doing this for a while, this isn't new, like they put out like actual records, like physical records instead of just like CDs.
Most are doing that now.
And which is really cool because I know a lot of people that buy them. Do those count towards like your regular like album sales?
Yeah. And so too if you buy it on iTunes and so if you buy like a song from iTunes, so what they'll do is let's say somebody buys 10 individual songs, that'll count as one album sale the way they do it. A certain amount of streams, I don't know what it is, counts as an album sale. So
I was in my local record shop the other couple weeks ago. God, I guess it's more than that now. But anyways, and the guy behind the counter said that and this is a small town I'm in Illinois, and we were lucky we even have a record store. I don't know how they're staying in business, but he told me that they've sold hundreds of the new Taylor Swift vinyl.
That's awesome. It's great for business. I mean,
it's keeping them going. Yeah, that they need that kind of like boom. So it's good we have a couple artists that really crush it like that to help the record shops move some product because the other stuff not quite as much. But like to your point, Ryan, like the records sell more than anything now. Like people don't buy CDs or any other format, really.
It's probably, in fact, 3 years ago was the first time since late 80s, something like that records outsold CDs. Now it's just taking off as far as, but you can still get CDs for certain artists, especially older artists. People want still, there are guys and girls in my age group sometimes that want the CD, even though I buy the vinyl for the most part. But
I did read about the Black Keys canceling their American Stadium tour, and what I read is that the band has not officially said why, but that there were reports that they've only sold like 20% of the tickets, and they basically were like, our sales aren't going to get there, so we have to cancel.
Surprised
that's really
tore up to like, they have those theaters in cities, every city. We have the Warfield in San Francisco, the Boston Orpheum. Those guys, why not play to the 3,000 people? To rent out the arena, your costs are dramatically less, and you make for a cool, intimate show. So maybe, I've heard
that's what they're going to have to do next time. They'll have to do that next time because it's obviously demonstrated the market's not there for them.
I saw somebody posted, I think they were going to open their tour, and I've actually been in this arena in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yes, I've been to the Tulsa arena, and it's your 16, probably 18,000 seat arena, and someone showed a screenshot. You never know, it's the internet, but I mean, it was 20%. It was just all the tickets around the stage were gone, maybe a little bit of the side, but it was, it would have been. If it was 20% of the arena sold, I'd be surprised, or more.
And it's no fun if you're going to go to that. Like, you don't want to be in an empty stadium. Like, I also don't really want to eat in an empty restaurant, even though I don't want it to be super, I don't want to be squished in there.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, you want there to be an atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really, really, and what I not worry about, but as such a fan of things, like how do bands, like the bands we just played, Cold Stairs, it's like, how do they make it? I mean, do they have to play clubs 6 nights a week just to put food on the table? I mean, what's going on there?
That's a tough road to hoe.
It is, man.
I think most of them just are not going to make it, or they'll have their, or they'll make it for a while. Like, really, you need one big album. One thing that always blows my mind is how many, like, so when I was in high school, right, the big music that I was into for a lot of it was like pop punk music, like Fall Out Boy, and like that style of music. And so there'll be bands that weren't really all that big then, but they had one decently successful album that can still do tours on that album's name. Now, so like there's a band called Say Anything or like Motion City Soundtrack, and every time there's like an 5-year anniversary, 10-year anniversary, they're always coming through and it sells out, which is just wild to me. Like sometimes I go, sometimes I don't, but it's going to be all the same people that were watching them with you when you were 16 there, just now older, like doing the same thing, which is fun.
I grew up in the late 70s that say maybe had, a 5-year run, like off the top of my head, like the Steve Miller Band, had this huge 5-year run from say 75 to 80. And seriously, it was like one of the biggest rock bands at that time. Haven't sold a record since and can still go out in the summer and play the Sheds off of that 5-year history and actually, literally sell it out. People want to hear, Jungle Love and Take the Money and Run over and over and over and over. But
they had him at our 4th of July festival. I don't know how long ago it was, but a while ago. And I remember watching them being like, this is awesome. But
it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of people, but it's crowded and hot, but it's just fun to see. I'm not going to go spend a bunch of money to see Steve Milgram. I think they're great, but I'm not that into it. Like for example, if I go to a festival and they're like, "Oh, Steely Dan's here," like, okay, I'll go to that. I'll check that out, but I'm probably not going to go buy an individual ticket for it.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I was looking.
Well, Tim, what's your next show you've got on the calendar?
Let's see. Show-wise, is Pearl Jam my next one? Oh, no. I've got a couple. So I'm going to see the Dead Daisies in Roseville, which Roseville's where I live. We have this little rock club. Dead Daisies, dirty rock and roll from about 10 years ago. Then I am going to see the Best of All Worlds tour, and I grew up as a massive Van Halen fan. Eddie Van Halen's my all-time favorite guitarist. Oh. They are putting in Joe Satriani to sing with Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony of Van Halen, and going out and doing a Van Halen set. So I got to go get my fix. Yeah. And then it's Pearl Jam in Montana. Do you have anything coming up, buddy? Either one of you?
I don't know.
You have Bruce. You got Bruce coming up.
Oh yeah. I'm going to see Bruce Springsteen in Philadelphia in August. As long as it doesn't count. He's been postponing shows. He's having health issues.
Yeah, he's 72, and whatever he's having, I want that at 72. Though I mean, the guy looks amazing for 72.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
Well,
I might be going to see. Oh, sorry, Tim.
Oh, I was just going to say you're going to have a great time, Josh. We'll consider the show on. He's incredible live. 3 hours plus, Ryan.
Yeah, for sure. Where are you going, Ryan?
Well, first off, I think it's a really cool trend that artists are doing lately, where they're playing in different weird cities in different states. So the Rolling Stones in the end of July are coming to, I really don't even know where this is, Ridgedale, Missouri, and they're playing in the Thunder Ridge Nature Arena at Big Cedar Lodge. It's a big outdoor thing, I guess. I really don't know.
Oh, Big Cedar is around Branson.
Yeah, it's near Branson. I know that. But I went to school an hour from Branson College. I still don't know where Ridgedale is. And so the Rolling Stones are going to be there. And I feel like I need to go because
that's pretty cool. Weird.
Go check it out, man. And I'll tell you what, I watch this stuff on YouTube and I follow, all kinds of bands on Instagram. If you want, I swear to God, and we were talking about this before the call, 58 years old, I think I'm in decent shape. I literally don't know if I could keep up with 81-year-old Mick Jagger. I mean, he is booking around and running like he's 25 still. And Keith Richards is, there's a great meme I saw from Keith Richards for about global warming. Said we have to think about the world we're going to leave for Keith Richards someday.
Yeah, he's never gonna die, dude. He's I love the Rolling Stones. I saw them a couple years ago when they came to St. Louis, and
oh, you did? You already saw them once? Okay, cool.
I've already seen them, yeah. So who I really want to come through that I haven't seen in a while, or I don't know. There's a lot of bands in that kind of genre that came up, and I guess a lot of fans really like. I'm really hoping that the Black Crowes come back through, which I haven't looked at them in a while. That's someone I wanted to see, but I haven't really. Now that I have, here's my issue with going to concerts and movies and a lot of things too at the moment is I have 4 kids. And if I'm going to take a day away from them, it's I have to be really selective about what I do. And so it's going to have to be a cool thing. I can go see a bunch of shows, and stick my wife with all the kids over and over again.
Wow. I mean,
right.
Didn't you say it was her job, though? It was her responsibility, you said earlier or something?
Yeah, that's right. As a woman. No, please don't.
I don't know why I'm doing this. Maybe I'm in a good mood. But talking about Keith Richards, here's when Keith Richards was, I think, about 47 years old, and I was 26. Isn't that freaking hysterical?
No way. Hold on.
That's great.
Look at you, dude.
That's me and my ex-wife, who Josh actually met. A long story there. But there's Keith. Keith wasn't even 50 years old in that picture. It was February of 92. And I'll still never remember. Keith comes up to me, and he looks at she wasn't my wife yet, but she was. So we were about to be engaged, and he's like, do you mind if he actually asked me permission to kiss her? And I felt like saying, you're Richard, you can fuck her brains out if you want, but I did not.
Oh my God, dude, no.
Richard, he gets to do what he wants, So it was really cool that he actually asked me permission, and for this picture, I still remember a funny story. The photographer goes, Keith, that's in the Boston Orpheum Theater. It was when Keith's solo tour. He did 2 solo records, early 90s, late 80s. And the photographer asked him to get up against the wall. And he goes, don't worry, I know all about getting up against the wall. I don't know why I still remember that stuff.
Nice. That's
anyway,
great, man. Good stuff. Good stuff, man. Well, great music segment today, guys. We were all over the place there. So, Ryan, in the 9 minutes we have left, where are you going to take us today?
Well, I mean, it just depends. Do we want to do a business thing or do we want to talk about your wine? I'm fine with that. We have 9 minutes left. My feelings won't be hurt.
Let's hit one of your things real quick. We've got to get back on the business track for a little bit for everyone who's
okay. Well, here's one, I guess, bit of news is that that everyone's getting mad about. So I do a lot of things with I don't know, I have some hobby things that involve a lot of artists, and so I've been doing some projects with artists, and so Meta and so Facebook, Instagram, they created they essentially came out and said that they're going to be training AI models using any public profiles, pictures, and text. Specifically, pictures is what bothers people because it's putting a lot of artists out of work, and they're using these artists' work to to train their AI on how to make more art that can put these artists out of work. And there's no way to opt out of it, apparently, unless you're in the EU, and that's not even for another month, and it's not retroactive. So they've already done it. So it's moving forward, they've already taken your art, and you can't tell them they can't use it anymore because it's already been implemented, which is just the whole reason I wanted to bring it up is there's outrage, real outrage about people doing this. And then but there's a fake exodus of everyone going to other sites. But if you have a massive following on Instagram, you're not going to go to some other art site and feel satisfied with the engagement that you're getting. So they'll be right back. But it does bring up a good point of at what point does it go too far? If I'm already sick, I think AI stuff is cool, but I'm already sick of hearing about it. I'm trying to find news for this show. It's almost all AI. That's all people are talking about, good or bad.
Right.
And so at a certain point, where does the ethics line lie, and how are they going to be monitoring this moving forward? Because that's my biggest concern with it.
I don't know, man. It feels like it's a total free for all, and that there is no monitoring.
And I think that's why they're doing it now. It's because it's you're going to be retroactively.
Those companies, not even speaking of retroactively, they will actively do stuff that they know is a violation of current laws or terms of service of their own or anything else, because they're so big that they know that the punishment, $1 billion fine is they fine these companies $1 billion for various things every other Sunday. And those companies, that's nothing to them,
Right.
So they're just going to do whatever they want pretty much all the time.
Especially if everyone else is doing it too. That's where the part with AI work, it's tricky because you want to be have some ethics and don't just taking artists' art because you know what it's being used for. It's not going to be used for anything that benefits the artists that have created this, or I've seen people make AI music tracks, right? And it's they're getting a lot of this information. They're getting it from publicly available music. But it's it's not good for the people that are creating it. It's everyone's creating things just to be fed into this AI machine, and they don't get anything back unless you just decide to use AI to create a new album, and they don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So I think though eventually, I guess I'm very fascinated about what it's going to look like in the next 5 years. There's definitely, there's going to have to be some legislation around a couple things with AI. First off, AI, using AI for stealing people's stuff to train your AI model that didn't allow you to do it, because I can go out and buy a book from an artist, a digital copy, a PDF, or not an artist, from an author, and then plug it into AI and have it learn everything that book says, and that author has no say in whether or not I do that. I think there's gonna, and like for that, I think they're gonna have to start like labeling things as AI. I know LinkedIn's already doing that with ads. So if you use AI to generate an ad, you have to label it as such, which I think is like
that's interesting.
Which I think is like going to be a start of. I think there's really no reason you need to do that for an ad, but like I think it's just a start of a kind of like we need to acknowledge when certain things are AI and when things are not. It's eventually going to get good enough though where it's going to be hard to tell. You think?
How good is AI at copy creation right now, Ryan? That you could go to any of the number of places to do this and say like, create for me a 20-page ebook on the top 5 strategies for getting clients off of LinkedIn. Will it produce good content? Will it give me a really nice 20-page ebook with a bunch of great stuff in it that I could easily edit?
Yeah, but yes, it can, because I've actually played around with it a lot to do stuff like that. It can create a really well-written guide on what to do, especially if you upload a bunch of like your own material into it. So if you get the paid version and you upload your own content into it, it can pull from your knowledge base if you get it out there and create the ebook based around that. But the issue with it still is it's very generic. So you have to, it's not like you can just plug in. It's not like I can create this in 5 minutes. It's like, no, you need to,
you have to edit it.
You have to edit it, but you also need to like tinker with it and be like, that's not 20 pages, is it? You know, they're like, no, we'll add more. And you know, like that kind of thing. And like, do you really think that sounds like so-and-so? And they're like, you're right. I'll add more conversational and shorter you know, it'll do that kind of thing. You have to train it. And I mean, it's cool. I think it's cool in a sense. I like it for outlines. If you're just like looking for ideas. So like what I did, because I've been playing around with it just so I'm not left behind. But I played around like, what are some good poll ideas for, you know, for this, or what are the top headlines? The problem, it's not 100% like up to date though. So saying like, what are the top headlines, but it's good for summarizing things. I don't know. It's just on one hand, I like that. On the other hand, it's like, man, it still feels grimy to me in some parts of it, especially with like actual art. I don't know why that's different to me than other things, but like,
well, I mean, it's going to affect that artist getting paid. It's going to affect, it's going to affect, a lot of things. It almost sounds like kind of what happened in music and DVDs back in the day. I did
see who was it? It might have been Ashton Kutcher, who's not in good graces with a lot of people now anyway. It was one really famous guy in Hollywood came out and was like, he was working with it. And his whole thing is like, he doesn't necessarily agree with it all, but it's like, it's not going away. Like that people used to, tape together film strips to make a full movie. And now we have, software that can do that for you. So like, this is no different than in the evolution of that. But his prediction, and I've seen people make this too, which is interesting to me, is that you'll be able to make like tailored movies that are like tailored to you, like customizable, like individually customized movies. Which to me is like, I don't know if I like that or not. Like I don't know what that would look like. It'd be like, you know, putting me in the movie, maybe. I don't know.
I'd like to see you in the movie.
Thanks, man. But like it just depends. There's gonna be a lot of issues over there. I mean, I think it's gonna dominate the next decade in terms of what is fine and what isn't, and how do they make things illegal? How do they make how do they keep certain things legal, and what is the good use for it? Because no matter what you use it for, like artists have a good point because they're putting, it's like it's creative work, but also like there are, anything that it does is taking a job from someone. You know what I mean? Whether that's a copywriter, whether that's even like a data analyst, or I can go in there and ask ChatGPT to write CSS code for how to make my spacing better on my website. Yeah. So it's taking stuff away from like what you typically pay a developer. So who knows?
Cool. Well, we'll continue to stay on top of the world of AI. I think that's it for the show for today. I'm going to give one final thought to everybody is make sure you're getting outside on these sunny days. I don't know if it's sunny where you're at in your neck of the woods, but you know what? There's no worse feeling than on a nice sunny day getting into the afternoon and realizing you've been inside staring at your computer all day. So
that was me yesterday. I was like,
take your computer outside, sit outside and do some emails, if nothing else, or go for a walk like Tim does.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good for the soul. Keeps you young.
Yeah. Good job, guys. See you next time.